Hi everyone. It is a beautiful day at the end of May. We've had a spate of some hot weather. Pretty much all of last week has been over 80. We've had a little bit of rain, just enough to kind of keep things from being too dry. It's really been pretty idyllic for the past week or so. And because of that warm weather warming up all of the soil, things have started to take off like a rocket here. So I thought you could join me today to do a little bit of care in and around some of the berry patches. We're here in my raspberry patch, which is one of my favorite parts of my garden, mostly because raspberries are my favorite fruit. So I love to keep this productive, I love to keep it clean, and there are a few tricks you can pick up taking care of some of these berry bushes and berry patches to make sure that your berries are productive and healthy throughout the rest of the season. So for starters, you can see in here now that a lot of this growth has come on fairly recently. Raspberries, once they're happy and healthy and the soil warms up, you've got a lot of nutrition. They love mulch, they love manure, they love lots of nutrient in the soil. I've been doing that all spring long, making sure that they're happy. They have come through in spades. They have shown their happiness by rocketing all of this growth. Currently covered in flowers, covered in bees. There's all sorts of immature fruit all over the place, but there's also a ton of this green growth coming in through the plant right now. That's a good thing. It shows that the plants are happy and healthy, and this green growth is also going to be what we get our fruit from in fall and next year. Now let's talk about that for a minute. I'll show you around the plant. So these are what are called Everbearing Raspberries. Sometimes you also refer to them as summer fruiting raspberries. These are pruned to give me a double crop every year. So certain varieties of raspberries fruit on both new wood and 1-year-old wood. That's what these guys are. So these guys will give me the first crop in summer. These will probably be ripe in about the next 2 or 3 weeks. We'll have a crop of raspberries grown on last year's growth. So all of the canes that I left over the winter, that's what you see right here, covered in berries and flowers. Those will come through, we'll get a great harvest off of those in like I said, about 2 weeks. And then those canes, I'm going to prune out to the ground, because essentially those canes have given me 2 crops. I had 1 crop from them when they were in their first year last year, and this is their second crop now as their summer crop this year. And each cane will only give you about those 2 harvests in a really productive sense. And then if I leave these canes, they'll kind of languish. They probably won't fruit anymore. And if they do, it'll just be a little bit here and there, not very high quality. And it's going to start congesting the bush. And I don't want the bush, I don't want my raspberry patch to get congested by canes that aren't going to be that productive anymore. The other types of canes are my first year growth. That's what you see here, the green canes coming in new. These canes now are going to grow over the entire summer, and these canes are going to give me a fall crop this year. So in probably about October, I'm going to get a lighter but still really nice crop off of all of the new growth that came in starting right now. So knowing that a lot of this growth coming in right now is going to be our fall harvest, we want to make sure that we're retaining the strongest canes. Otherwise, if we prune them all out or thin them all out, we're not going to have a fall harvest at all. The trick is, raspberries are really productive vegetally, and they love to spread. They love to produce as much green growth as possible. So if I let all of these canes come to fruition, 2 things are going to happen. I'm going to get a bunch of sort of weakened growth when the plant can't support all of these new canes it's trying to put out. And you see how dense this is in here with foliage and green growth. The problem is raspberries can be subject to fungal infections that can grow a lot faster in sort of humid environments with not a lot of airflow. So if I leave all this growth, not only is the growth going to slowly get weakened, and each of these canes are going to give me just a couple of not very great quality raspberries, but in here becomes sort of a greenhouse for fungal and bacterial infections. So we grab our secateurs and we start doing some hard pruning. This requires you now to do a little bit of forethought. As you look in through here, you've got some nice big thick green canes here for the new growth. This is last year's growth. This is the stuff that's going to come out at the end of summer when the summer harvest is finished and I'm looking to make some room for the fall crop. So as you go through here, start identifying first and foremost what's going to come out. First stuff I want to take out are any thin looking canes. Anything weedy, anything that's not as far along as some of these bigger, healthier looking canes, those are going to be the first ones to go. You'll also see I'm taking out a lot of this extra green from inside the bush, extra leaves that are sort of in the core of the bush. Frankly, these aren't going to do that much good for the bush anyway. These are basically, they're in complete shade in the center of the bush. It's not like they can photosynthesize. And these also become great landing zones for fungal infection. So if I get these out of the way, you get better airflow through the bush, you get a cleaner environment for everything, and less risk of infection, less places for the bad guys to hide out. Now, I know we've pruned out a bunch of these raspberry canes, and I know it can be a little depressing when you start taking away the stuff you've worked so hard to grow. But one of the cool things about these canes that we've taken out is they are multi-purpose. If I snip off these leaves on this cane, and I'm going to snip them all the way up to leave basically just the top growing shoot, just like that. It does not need very much as far as leaves go. And I'm going to do a little crosswise cut down here. This here is a perfectly healthy raspberry cutting that I can root and propagate my patch through softwood cuttings. So this will hopefully be a new raspberry plant so I can continue to grow my raspberry patch even though I'm clearing it out of all these extra canes. Now that I can also reach and see into the bush a little better, raspberries, like I said, love manure and love mulch. So I mixed up a little bit of a combination of the two, and I'm going to put a nice thick layer of some good organic mulch in here just to make sure that it keeps any weed competition down. It keeps their roots cool and moist. It keeps nutrition flowing because they're hungry bushes, so they love this extra compost, extra manure in there. And it keeps dead material kind of covered up and smothered out. So again, we're still limiting a lot of that fungal growth from being able to propagate on fallen leaves. And there you have it, a nice cleaned up, trimmed out raspberry patch.